takes us to item 28, which is in the supplementary, page 1. You're happy to move that, Jimmy, as well? Good on you. Yep, wait a minute, we might just give people a chance to find it because it's in a different thing on the hub. And Pauline seconds. Good on you. So page 125 of the supplementary. Moved and seconded. I don't know how you're going to ask the Mayor any questions, so that's going to be tricky. Are there any? No, good. Are there any comments? Jimmy?
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Regarding to the anniversary of multicultural strategy on the 29th of August, because my personal view, our Mayor Lian, she is very humble. Actually, we are all aware, especially our councillor, when we attend this celebration, our Mayor Lian, who received the Distinguished Service Award for her long outstanding service from the New Zealand Federation of Multicultural Council to mark women the suffrage 125th anniversary. So she worked actually extremely hard, even though she was sick, etc. So that's why I would like to take this opportunity, particularly acknowledge our Mayor. Yeah, she done a great job. The other one is I was very proud on behalf of the City Council also received the Community Service Excellence Award from New Zealand Federation Multicultural Council in recognition of the City Council's legacy in establishing the first multicultural strategy in New Zealand, also implement this strategy very effectively, efficiently. So I would like to take the opportunity to acknowledge last time all the working group, the Deputy Mayor, Andrew Turner, and also the Councillor Glenn Livingstone and Yanni Johansson. This time we are focused on monitoring implementation of the multicultural strategy. Also, I would like to acknowledge our Councillor Glenn Livingstone and Anne Galloway, as well as Mike Davidson, and also some of the staff. Actually, they done extremely the contribution, particularly like Claire Phillips and some other staff. Also would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge them. Thank you.
Okay, thanks Jimmy. Pauline?
Yep, thank you. I'd just like to touch on the Water New Zealand workshop that the Mayor attended along with myself, you, Vicky, Jimmy and Dion. But I noticed that she's used the words here that they're focusing on development of corporate water management structures, and I detected at the beginning of the meeting that they were quite nervous about being in Christchurch and presenting to Christchurch because they know how we feel. And I was encouraged actually by what I thought was a bit of a turnaround. They did mention the word exemption, and they did mention the status quo might be one of the options, which previously those two things had been ruled out. I took heart in that, but I'm trying not to get too excited about it. So what they're wanting to do is set up a regulator, and while retaining the water delivery and the water in public ownership, be delivered privately, if you like. And one term that they repeatedly used all day was that would remove political interference. And that concerned me a lot, because actually removing political interference is actually removing democracy in my view. So I just wanted to touch on that and just sort of flesh out that report a little bit more. I think we gave them a good run for their money, and Alistair Humphreys was incredibly vocal actually, and being quite adamant that it stays with the Ministry of Health, and that's where the buck stops. But yeah, so it was quite a forceful forum, and I think we got our messages through. Yep. So I just thought you might want to add your view.
Yeah, I thought it was a very interesting workshop in that their view was very predetermined, I thought, and what was interesting is as people raised objection after objection after objection, they quoted from another country completely to illustrate some point, but clearly I thought Alistair Humphrey's view on regulation was actually very clear. Their view was that there wasn't regulation, so he pointed out the section, the subsection and the Act, and the fact that the speaker who was actually saying there wasn't any regulation had helped to draft it. So he was stunning, and so there clearly is regulation. What he was saying is that the Ministry of Health is insufficiently resourced. And then their views were that clearly councils having the three waters was a really annoying structure because political people, councillors, made the decisions. And clearly that was really annoying to them, and as Pauline mentioned, the political interference was how they referred to elected members. But the most scary concept I saw from actually having been involved on the Local Government Commission when local government in 1989 was actually amalgamated and put together, and the functionality of it was put together, was their desire to rip out 34% of our budget and put it into a separate authority. And that separate authority, from their point of view, ran from possibly just Canterbury to 2/3 of the South Island to the whole of New Zealand. And the very clear driver for that was that a lot of those authorities could not afford, particularly the wastewater actually, and that should be subsidised by the good citizens of Christchurch City and of the major urban areas. So I thought there were major flaws in their consultation. I mean, apart from the fact that their consultation involved them talking at people all the time, but just and I don't understand why Local Government New Zealand is so wedded to them and puts their articles in their news, in their magazine and things. Anyway, I think they got a very different impression. I think they got a very clear impression of what Christchurch wanted, but I think we need to be totally on top of it. It has all sorts of threats to Christchurch City, I think.
So on that note, I think the work that this council is doing on our infrastructure is really appropriate to be investing that money at the moment. None of it will be wasted, and also it's going to take quite a long time. We're expecting some response from the government to the report by October this year, but they mentioned there wouldn't be anything really of substance of an opinion till at least mid next year, and it could even be later. So we have got time on our side to actually continue to improve that infrastructure.
We just need to stay 5 steps ahead of them, I think. Okay, if there's nothing else. Sorry, Yanni.
Since we're sort of discussing the water issue in terms of corporatisation, it was really interesting, and I hope that this council will make a submission around the review into the electricity sector, but the first report has just been released, and what we need to keep in mind, I believe, is that the same agenda for the electricity corporatisation and privatisation is the same one that's pushing the water. They often use the electricity as a comparison to say if we go how they went, then things will be better. Actually, what the electricity report has found, that residential prices are 79% higher than in 1990, and since 2000 residential prices have risen faster than most other OECD countries. And it's just, there's a two-tier retail market where the poor are really punished and pay a huge penalty for not being able to pay on time, and that there's huge complexity in pricing structures. So I think if anyone wanted an indication of what not to do, it would be to look at our electricity sector, which the water lobbyists keep comparing as a way forward for water. And I think we should be incredibly concerned that the evidence is overwhelming that the electricity sector reforms have been terrible for the public and for the consumers, and we don't want water to go that way.
Oh, sorry, and I'm just seconding Yanni's statement because we're on the Mayor's Welfare Trust. Electricity is...
Can I just raise a point of order? Are we discussing the Mayor's report here, or is it a free-for-all?
No, it's about the water in the Mayor's report.
Yeah, but what's it got to do with the electricity pricing review?
Yeah, a lot.
Exactly.
I'm just tag teaming onto Yanni.
It's got to do a lot.
Well, it's an important issue for the community. It's the number one kind of Yeah. Well, this is where we do it, but the thing is, like, it's the number one kind of check disbursement thing from the Mayor's Welfare, isn't it? So people see it rates as high, but
Yeah, but the point I was trying to make is we need to be aware of the social implications of the change of a water delivery model. Amendment?
What about the price of
Kidding me? Not again.